Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get started. I have one of three, so we'll give everyone a couple minutes or a couple seconds to get seated. Oh, is it not on? I don't have any, so we're good right now. Thank you, though. Okay. First, I want to start out with thanking each of you for coming this afternoon. What a fantastic opportunity we have to display registered apprenticeship models throughout the state and talk about how impactful they could be on business and industry, as well as support our residents in connecting them to training models that include not only a classroom-related training component, but also the work-based learning. I'm very excited to have everyone that has joined us in person as well as virtually. We have some wonderful presentations today that I think are really going to make an impact or help you think differently about registered apprenticeship models. First, I want to thank Amy Farley, my administrative assistant from Workforce West Virginia. She has done a fantastic job at putting this model or this plan together, as well as engaging all of our partners. I failed to introduce myself, so let me back up and do that quickly. I'm Amber Jackson. I'm the Director of Workforce Development for Workforce West Virginia. So in working with the West Virginia Office of Apprenticeship, we have a phenomenal relationship and has really increased the support for each other over the last 3 years. Karen Wade, Ken Milnes, Adam Mouse, Michael Ferrari, all of those partners are at the table, and we're talking about what we can do to help support West Virginia and bringing in our partners. So for the effort that has been put forth for this afternoon's presentation, thank you to all of you, and what a wonderful, wonderful way to end Apprenticeship Week. We'll get started with our first presentation, which I believe is a video. The first presentation will be the USDOL Office of Apprenticeship Regional Director, Jim Foti. Are we ready with the...
Hello, my name is Jim Foti from the U.S. Department of Labor. I'd like to thank Governor Justice, Workforce West Virginia, Commissioner Atkins, the Economic Development Office, West Virginia Department of Education, the Community and Technical College System, and all the interested parties and stakeholders here in attendance to help us celebrate National Apprenticeship Week. This is the 8th annual National Apprenticeship Week, and it's wonderful to see the crowds at the events this year. Apprenticeship really is picking up steam. I bring you greetings from the Honorable Secretary of Labor, Marty Walsh, and from all of my colleagues here at DOL. We salute your efforts to grow registered apprenticeships in West Virginia. I'm especially proud of your Teachers Apprenticeship Initiative, which I think has much promise to get more young people into the qualified profession of teaching. It's very encouraging to be here with business leaders, workforce professionals, educators, and other stakeholders to expand apprenticeship across the state. Partnerships assembled here, such as the Technical College System and industry intermediaries and professional development specialists, are needed in every aspect of growing apprenticeship opportunities. Thank you for inviting me here to give a few brief remarks about National Apprenticeship Week and sharing some information about apprenticeships. We're here to celebrate the 8th annual National Apprenticeship Week this week. It's an opportunity to highlight how registered apprenticeship, an industry-driven training model, can help address some of our nation's pressing workforce challenges, such as responding to critical supply chain demands and supporting a clean energy workforce, modernizing our cybersecurity response, addressing public health issues, and rebuilding our country's infrastructure. This year also marks the 85th anniversary of the National Apprenticeship Act, which established the National Registered Apprenticeship System. During National Apprenticeship Week, leaders in industry, labor, equity, workforce, education, and government host events across the country to showcase the success and value of apprenticeship in rebuilding our economy, in advancing gender and racial equity, and supporting underserved communities. Here in West Virginia, we gather at an extraordinary time a time when we as business and community leaders who understand something about developing people and skills can chart a course forward with the backing of our national leaders. Let's make good use of this time. I want to congratulate Workforce West Virginia for its successes in expanding apprenticeships. This is truly a great time to tie in registered apprenticeship to build the skill needs and bridge that gap. This is a great time for regional business community leaders to address the career needs of the many youth and unemployed individuals who need better skills and competencies to support their families. I say to this group and to all the apprentices and prospective apprentices out there, it's time to dream big. Many of us have been working in this field for decades, and we've never seen the opportunities that we see today. And this administration is all in on apprenticeship. Let's capitalize on the momentum. Building a skilled, diverse workforce in high-demand areas that will fortify our economy requires high-quality training pathways that lead to good-paying jobs and provide stability and security for workers and their families. We are committed to this historic focus on equity, on job quality, and doubling down on proven workforce models that deliver results. Registered apprenticeship is critical to all three. Federal investments play a key role in the department's ongoing efforts to expand and modernize apprenticeship, and in the pathways to these proven earn and learn models. In support of these priorities, the department has recently made investments that will allow us to expand on what evidence shows really works. We've committed funding to women in apprenticeship, recently awarded a $3.4 million grant for women in apprenticeship and non-traditional occupations. We recently awarded $171 million in Apprenticeship Building America grants to support a coordinated national investment strategy and strengthen modern registered apprenticeship programs and enable workers to find a reliable pathway to the middle class. We've also invested about $30 million in 16 industry intermediary contractors with the goal of expanding apprenticeships across high-quality industries such as the care economy, cybersecurity, healthcare, advanced manufacturing, IT, hospitality, telecommunications, and key supply chain industries such as semiconductors and nanotechnology, pharmaceuticals, transportation, and logistics, and others. So we've invested nearly $31 million through cooperative agreements to establish 4 registered apprenticeship technical assistance centers of excellence. But we need to do more. We need to ensure that all workers, especially those who have been typically marginalized, have meaningful access to and support in registered apprenticeship. And we need to ensure that these high-quality training programs lead to good jobs for all workers who participate. A couple of other things that the department is doing. We just finished a 120-day cybersecurity sprint, which encouraged employers, industry associations, unions, and training providers to explore apprenticeship as a recruitment, training, and retention strategy for our cybersecurity needs. Secretary Walsh also announced the launch of the Apprenticeship Ambassador Initiative last year, and we're happy to report that we now have 200 ambassadors to support our goal of expanding registered apprenticeship, including youth apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship programs. So, registered apprenticeship programs enable employers to develop and train their future workforce while offering career seekers affordable paths to secure high-paying jobs. Registered apprenticeships can also help employers to recruit, develop a diverse and highly skilled workforce that helps grow their business, improves their productivity, profitability, and the employer's bottom line, and creates flexible training options that ensure workers develop the right skills. Companies can also receive tax credits and tuition benefits in participating states. And it also increases staff loyalty and retention. For example, 93% of apprentices retain employment after completing an apprenticeship program. So we here at the U.S. Department of Labor and our West Virginia team of Ken Milnes, Karen Wade, Mike Ferrari, and Adam Mouse, we look forward to working with you in growing more registered apprenticeship opportunities. Thank you so much for your time today and for all the wonderful partnerships being built to offer expanded apprenticeship opportunities in West Virginia. I wish you continued success. Thank you. Hello, my name is Jim Foti from the U.S. Department of Labor. I'd like to thank Governor Justice, Workforce West Virginia, Commissioner Atkins, the Economic
Got it? Great. Again, just to kind of echo what Mr. Foti said, is that we have consistently been moving forward towards building stronger partnerships. And our next speaker is a part of our team and has been a strong partnership, David Rogers with Economic Development.
Morning, everyone, and welcome to our National Apprenticeship Week celebration. What do you think of when someone says the word apprentice? If you haven't been working in our fields the way most of us have, you might think of Darth Vader, the Emperor's apprentice in Star Wars, or maybe Mickey Mouse in his pointy star-covered hat from Fantasia, or maybe the young guy who walks around behind your plumber, carrying all of his tools and watching while the plumber actually does the work, and then learning, hopefully, and becomes your plumber over time. You know, I guess all these are technically correct, but the apprentice of today is so much more. Currently, there are more than 1,000 occupations that have been recognized as apprenticeable, and occupations are continually being added to the list. Apprenticeship is a highly desirable form of training for workers because of its first and foremost a job, according to the U.S. Department of Labor. And that kind of echoes what Jim was talking about too. The fact that you are earning money while you're learning your skill is invaluable to so many young people today who can't afford to drop a job and go to a 4-year school or even a 2-year school sometimes. Apprenticeship is one of the oldest forms of training. It involves learning on the job under the direction of a master or senior worker, again, according to the USDL. In the U.S., registered apprenticeship has a defined meaning and a long, rich history. The registered apprenticeship system dates back to 1937 with the passage of the Fitzgerald Act, and that's the national legislation that lays the foundation for the federal state system that exists today. It allows for learning job skills while earning an income, a steady wage progression while working as an apprentice, and a widely recognized and portable certificate of completion and proficiency. The apprenticeship is limited to skilled occupations, and that is where I tend to differ with the USDL. I don't know exactly who is determining what the skilled occupations are these days, and there are so many more, and I guess that's one reason why we had the flexibility of adding new apprenticeable occupations as we go forward. 10 years ago, you would not have thought of an apprenticeship in an IT sector. You would have thought of a pipe fitter or a plumber or construction worker, but people in certified nursing administration or assistants, that would not have come to mind. So, apprenticeship occupations are customarily learned in a practical way through a structured, systematic program of on-the-job supervised training supplemented by related technical instruction, clearly identified and commonly recognized throughout an industry, and involve the acquisition of manual or technical skills and knowledge. Now, I didn't know this until recently, but apprenticeship has come full circle in my own life. After my dad passed in 2003, my mom this past summer finally got around to cleaning out all of his things. Mom's a procrastinator. But among the Army discharge paperwork and all the other things that I found were Dad's apprenticeship papers. I had no idea, but after he got out of the service in '54, he had used the GI Bill funding to pay for his apprenticeship at a local car dealership and learned how to be an auto body repairman. You know, for someone who had not even finished the 7th grade before going into the Army, this was a great feat. He ended up starting his own business. He ran that business for 30-some years, put 2 kids through college, and, maintained a house, and it really was the pathway into the middle class. So I really wanted to go into the auto field. I had I was bitten by the bug. I was working on cars as young as I could get into the garage, and, rebuilt my own Mustang when I was in high school, and just really wanted to do that. But Dad was so adamant that we were going to go to college. We were not going to have to do what he did. And now here I am pushing apprenticeships. So it's funny how the world comes around sometimes. This form of training is more important than ever for a number of different reasons, but 2 in particular: the graying of the current skilled workforce and the cost of higher education. The silver tsunami, as we often call it, is looking at 4 in 10 skilled workers leaving their jobs in the next 10 years. Now, if you think it's hard getting an electrician or a plumber now, wait for 10 years and then see how that's going to be. We really need to backfill our skilled occupations, and apprenticeships are a great way to do it. And again, it gives them the training while they're earning a living wage. The average annual tuition inflation rate at public 2-year institutions since 1963 has been 61.6%. Think about that for a minute. The annual tuition inflation at private 4-year institutions has averaged 55.2%. When I started at the University of Kentucky back in 1980, something or other, one semester of 12 hours or above, which puts you at full time, was $666. I just got done with my daughter graduating Marshall in 2017, and with room and board and everything, it was $14,000 something, a year. So times have definitely changed. And I'm not saying higher education doesn't have a place in the workforce. I'm just saying it doesn't have to be the only path to a high-paying, rewarding career. As many of you who know me know, my daughter recently graduated from Marshall with a degree in mechanical engineering. And when I was visiting Constellium a couple years ago, helping to set up a CTC scholarship so that they could bring a pipeline of workers into their plant, I asked them what the incoming apprentice would earn and how it would compare to what my daughter would earn as an incoming mechanical engineer. They were the same. They were in the mid $50,000 range, but my daughter didn't have the option of overtime, and the person who was on the floor did. So for a lot of young people, this is the way for them to get into good paying jobs. Now, currently in West Virginia, there are nearly 6,000 active apprenticeships. It was about 5,100 last year, the last Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers that came out. With the additional apprentices we've had so far this year, it is almost 6,000. At last count, West Virginia was near the top of the national rankings. We were 5th per capita in the number of apprenticeships. Now, for a state this size, that is a remarkable achievement, and it's recognition of the value of apprenticeships to workers and as seen by their employers. With all this in mind, it makes me very happy to announce today that the West Virginia Department of Economic Development will again this year be proposing legislation to expand the state's corporate income tax credit to include not just the construction trades as it currently does, but all registered apprenticeships in the state. The measure won overwhelming support in the House last year at 96-0, and it unfortunately got stalled in the Senate Finance Committee. So we're doing a little legwork and a ground game this year to go at it, and we are proposing again that we take this legislation and pass it so that all employers who are having registered apprenticeships at their workplace could get up to $2,000 in tax credit on their corporate net income tax. So keep your eyes out for coming news. Apprenticeships are evolving, growing, and coming to a workplace near you. And I hope that all of us here will have a hand in working with that and making it happen. So, thank you.
Thank you, David. And next on the agenda is myself. So I get to speak on behalf of Acting Commissioner Scott Atkins and Workforce West Virginia. Going back to, again, the theme of today is, for me anyway, is the engagement of our partners and the expansion that has taken place over the last year in bringing everyone to the table. I think that is so important and is what's needed to help the workforce in West Virginia move in the right direction, making those connections, whether it be for our youth, for our young adults, or for our employed residents that want to do an upskill. We need to make sure that we're making those connections at the state level or at the local levels, engaging, creating pathways to where they can enhance their skills for a higher paying job or sustainability. There's a lot of transition that happens within, and we need to make sure that we're prepared to offer those opportunities for our residents. The big benefit to that is keeping them in our state and allowing the youth to continue to grow and watching West Virginia's economic status grow as we expand upon our population, and creating opportunities for our youth is a key component to that. And we'll hear about a very innovative project or a registered apprenticeship model that has been created over the last year today that is solely focused on our youth and engaging them, and as well as addressing industry need. So again, that is such an important component to what we're doing, as well as educating employers and industry on the benefit of a registered apprenticeship model. To give a little bit of a background on myself, before I came back to Workforce West Virginia, and I say came back to because I initially started my career in workforce development with Workforce West Virginia in 2011 as a temporary employee. At that point in time, the coal mining industry had taken a significant downturn, and the state had a national dislocated worker grant from the Department of Labor that focused on retraining that coal mining population, as well as the displaced homemakers, were the spouses of those coal miners that did not have the skill set or the education, those certifications needed to enter the workforce. And so over the duration of 10 years, that grant funded training opportunities, connecting those individuals to the workforce. And that's how I got started. I grew a passion for helping people. After leaving the state, going to my next position was at the local level with local workforce development. Some of you may know the structure within Workforce West Virginia and how the local workforce development boards are engaged and operate our local programs in the 7 local areas in which we have in West Virginia. So my next move was to take the local role, and working in that capacity and working with the West Virginia Office of Apprenticeship, looking at non-traditional apprenticeship programs. We were able to do 2 successful models that I want to mention briefly today. The first one was our first ever emergency medical technician program in the state of West Virginia. We piloted that in my home county, in Roane County, engaging the county commission and the local emergency response authority. We were able to train 8 individuals who went through a registered apprenticeship model that was very well laid out, included some on-the-job training. It was kind of running simultaneously with the structure of the way the registered apprenticeship model was developed. Those individuals I think we had a total of 4 that passed and were able to transition into employment with local emergency response authorities or commissions, the county commission. So that was a very successful model, and it created opportunity that allowed those individuals to explore careers outside of what we have in Roane County, which is a very small county, not a lot of employment opportunities outside of education or medical fields. So that was something that was hugely successful, and kind of started our passion in driving additional non-traditional apprenticeships models and educating the employers and industry within the areas that we were saturated in. Moving to the next one was a registered apprenticeship focused on certified nursing assistants with a hospital in Mason County. And we were able, there was multiple, I could not even tell you a final number that we filtered through that registered apprenticeship program, really focusing in on our youth that had dropped out of school, or are individuals that were attached to public assistance programs, able to connect them to that registered apprenticeship model, get the certification that they need, and then transitioning into a position that allowed them to be self-sustainable without public assistance. Well, it was a huge success. So that started my passion for registered apprenticeship, and I continue to support it because I do think that it makes a strong impact, not only on industry and developing those models specific to their needs, but allowing the individuals that participate, the apprentices that participate, to earn or to obtain a skill set while earning a wage, allowing that support and that sustainability to help support their families during that training model. I think it's very important that we continue to grow those opportunities and make those connections. I'm going to, like David, I'm going to speak personally to a current experience with registered apprenticeship. My husband has been a coal miner, an electrician in the coal mines in West Virginia. He also worked in South America for some time. And as he's gotten older, he's found that that job's a little bit harder for him to do. So in looking at opportunities, we looked at registered apprenticeships and how we could transfer his skill set as an electrician in the coal mines to an industry that he would be of benefit, and it would be an easy transition for him, somewhat familiar. And we were able to make that connection. And he is currently in a registered apprenticeship model, HVAC, commercial HVAC, traveling the East Coast, learning how to be a tech on his own independently. The wage was very similar to what he was earning in the coal mines, but this allows him, it's a little, of course there's physical requirements to this, but it's not the exposure that it was for the coal mines. So he is happily transitioned, and we're excited about the opportunity for him, and can't wait to see what the future holds as far as that certification and him completing that model. So again, I really appreciate everyone coming today, and we want to move forward with our presentations. The next presenters we have, and I believe we have a PowerPoint with us, Amy, correct? Will be the Gestamp and Bridge Valley model. The presenters will be Hannah Stout with Gestamp, she's the HR generalist, and Norm Mortensen with Bridge Valley, who's the Dean of Technology.
Hi everyone, I'm Hannah. I'm an HR generalist with Gestamp West Virginia LLC. We manufacture metal automotive components that support the structural integrity of vehicles. And today I'm going to talk about our apprenticeship programs. Give you a little bit of background about us, talk about our recruiting process, the programs that we do offer and their structure. Some lessons we've learned along the way in the current state of Gestamp apprenticeships, and discuss some of our partnerships as well. So skilled trades recruitment has been difficult in West Virginia due to the fact that we have a lot of unique processes, tools, and equipment that's very specific to the automotive industry. And we found that there was a lack of skills needed to meet those needs. So we developed a maintenance and tool and die apprenticeship program to help fill our needs. So I'll talk about our recruiting process. We have an internal process where we post apprenticeship positions for a minimum of 72 hours. We have face-to-face interviews scheduled, and then we ask them to complete AccuPlacer testing. And I think that the AccuPlacer testing is key, and this is where Bridge Valley comes into play because they've really helped us develop this program. We've used their AccuPlacer exam to develop a gatekeeping, objective way to gatekeep. So we have a minimum score that we look at to compare candidates to determine eligibility into the program. And based on that, along with other factors, we'll make them an offer. And our external recruiting process is very much the same. We will communicate with the schools and workforce when we have external positions posted. And then what we found is we've been really successful with referrals from internal Gestamp employees. And I'll talk a little bit about our programs and the structure. So again, we have 2 programs. We have our tool and die apprenticeship and our maintenance apprenticeship. And these are both time-based, 4-year, 8,000 hours of on-the-job training that's required to be completed before they're eligible to be a certified journeyman. The college coursework and instruction is provided by Bridge Valley. The apprentices attend class 2 to 3 days per week, and they work under the guidance of certified journeymen. We have variable work assignments for them. We offer a lot of schedule flexibility to help them balance work, life, and school, because we realize that that's a lot to take on. And then on the right here, we have our wage scale progression. So we want to incentivize our apprentices to keep going, to continue on in the program. So for every 2,000 hours they complete of on-the-job training, they receive a $2 merit increase until they graduate the program at that 4th year. Oops. So with our tool and die program, we currently have 5 active apprentices right now. We have aligned our classroom course work with Bridge Valley's associates in advanced manufacturing fabrication. So we've kind of married those 2 together, and we will support our apprentices in pursuit of an associate's degree on top of their required apprenticeship courses through our tuition reimbursement program. And we, for our maintenance, we currently have 10 active apprentices. Same scenario, we've modeled the course outline with Bridge Valley's associates in advanced manufacturing mechatronics. And they have the option to complete an associate's degree, and we will support them with that. And these are some things that we've learned along the way. So we realized that we had several threats to our success, and we've really taken the time to evaluate our program to make it the best that it can be. We had a lot of competing program requirements in the past that were very impractical and ineffective. We realized that we had a lot of inefficiencies in our hiring process. We didn't have a documented screening process or established eligibility guidelines and proper gatekeeping. This caused a lot of rushed hiring and late term starts and missed class time, and that can't happen. So we want to give them a positive experience, and we want them to enjoy the journey and not, start off on a bad foot, being behind in class and struggling to get everything together, because that's not fair to them. So we've made a lot of improvements, and I'm really proud of the things that we've done to streamline our external recruitment efforts. We simplified the process. We want to keep it consistent. We've developed talent from within, and so when I say that, I'm kind of referring to the tuition reimbursement program that we have. I think that's really important because, the candidates who apply for apprenticeship, maybe they're not ready for college level coursework, and maybe they need to take additional remedial courses to get prepared to go back to school. And so with our tuition reimbursement program, we're empowering them to make the decision, okay, I think I want to pursue this. I can go back to school, and Gestamp will pay for it. So I think that that's something really awesome that we've done a lot better job of communicating with our employees about giving them options. And then we've established a lot more clarity and put into place a lot of different accountability measures to make sure that we don't have apprentices with 4,000 hours worth of on-the-job training, but not much coursework to show for it because maybe they're not passing or they're struggling with math or they've withdrawn from this class or that class because it's too hard. We want to make sure that they're on the right track and that they're taking the program seriously. And then we want to set them up for sustainable success. So we understand that work-life balance is extremely important. And we need to make sure that we offer them flexible work schedules so that way they can manage having a family and going to class and doing homework. And we allow them to work up to 40 hours if they wish. If they decide they want to come into work after class and work the rest of the day, they have that option. But it is an option. So, you know, we give everybody the authority to say, hey, you know, after class today, I think I'm gonna, you know, stay at school. I've got to study for this exam. All right, great. We want to make sure that they're empowered to say that. And then we have a lot better organization in place now. We're doing all we can to document you know, all the changes that we've made, all the things in the past that have worked, the things that didn't work so well, and we've involved, you know, our key stakeholders and subject matter experts in the decision-making process regarding, you know, any apprenticeship changes, and, you know, putting together the apprenticeship committee. We've rebanded, and you know, we're starting to have regular meetings again, and I'm really proud of the progress that we've made with our apprenticeship and the improvements that we've seen. And you know, I've had a lot of compliments from our current apprentices. You know, they're really happy about the way things are going, and when the people are happy, I'm happy. I work in human resources, so I'm all about the people. And then the current state of our apprenticeships. So 2021 was a learning opportunity for us. We saw a lot of turnover in both programs. We had a little bit of a difficult year in 2020, and we've kind of had to rebound from some things related to the semiconductor chip shortages and things of that nature. But since the start of 2022, we have added a total of 7 apprentices. 3 were internal hires and 4 were external. We had 1 apprentice complete the program this year, and we have 1 who will complete the program next year, and then 3 that are in their 2nd year. And we're looking to double the number of apprentices in both programs by the end of 2024. And then we do have 2 new apprenticeship program models that we're looking at right now that are under review. These would be 2-year programs, one for press operator apprentice, which will support the stamping operations, and then the quality technician apprenticeship, which would support our quality operations. So those are just some of our business needs right now, and we're currently discussing that with Bridge Valley. And also I wanted to say, thank you to all of you guys who've helped us be successful, who've supported us along the way. Bridge Valley Community and Technical College, they've been awesome to work with. They've helped so much with, you know, helping us build a better program. And the West Virginia Economic Development Office, thank you so much for the advance grants. And we've utilized Governor's Guaranteed in the past to help with some of that, and also Workforce West Virginia, who's been extremely helpful with providing us information and resources and their job boards. We recently offered a candidate a position last week, actually, and they were referred to us by one of Workforce's job boards. So that's definitely helping get the word out. So thank you. And then the West Virginia Community and Technical College System, the Learn and Earn grant funding has been extremely helpful to us as well, and we really appreciate the support. and the Department of Labor has provided us with guidance and oversight. And Karen, thank you so much. I appreciate our long phone calls and you informing me, and it's been awesome to work with you. So I just wanted to say thank you, and thanks for having me today.
Thank you, Hannah. I just want to note something that she said in our presentation, that the employer took a step back and realigned their apprenticeship to be a better and more effective model for the individuals, their apprentices, and the individuals internally that they're trying to recruit into that apprenticeship. So applause to you for taking a step back and looking at what's going to be beneficial. Sometimes things that have always been don't always work effectively long term. So that's definitely innovative in taking it to the next step. And Karen is wonderful. Everybody loves Karen. So our next presenter, before I introduce her, I just wanted my personal and professional opinion of Dr. Carla Warren. She is a phenomenal woman who has a passion and drive to help the kids of West Virginia think outside the box, to do something different, to create opportunities. I've had the pleasure and honor of working with her, and I continue to be impressed with her motivation to be that factor that's creating those opportunities. So without further ado, Dr. Carla Warren with the West Virginia Department of Education. She's the Director of the Office of Education, Development, and Support, and she's going to talk to us today about West Virginia's Grow Your Own Pathway to Teaching Apprenticeship. Carla.
That'll work. Well, I have to say I'm a member of the Karen Wade fan club as well. So Hannah, I'm running for president. So Amber and Karen have both been phenomenal partners for the Department of Education. So as Amber said, I'm Carla Warren. I work as the Director of Educator Development and Support at the West Virginia Department of Education. I have 4 of my staff members who stay in the weeds with me in the department through this work with me today. But we really have the opportunity at the department in our office to touch teachers at every point along the life cycle of a teacher. We work with recruitment, retention, licensure, preparation, professional growth, teacher leadership, and we also get to work with teacher celebrations like the Milken Educator and National Board Certification and Teachers of the Year. So we really have a great opportunity to touch those teachers along the way. So we know currently in our country that every student deserves a great teacher. And it's one of the biggest challenges in education is to make sure that every child, no matter where they live, no matter where they are, what grade, what class, they deserve a fully certified, fully prepared teacher, no matter where their zip code. And we know that that's not always the case. So the superintendent of schools, David Roach, and the Board of Education have a very distinct strategy policy that they look at before every item we take on at the department. And that is that we want to make sure our students are successful in literacy, in mathematics, and in writing. And one of those action steps is to fully recruit and retain teachers and principals in West Virginia. So taking a quick snapshot at public education in our state, we have about 250,000 students, about 23,000 teachers currently in West Virginia. If we look at the numbers, and I believe that the numbers for 2022 are going to be released today or tomorrow, so I haven't seen those numbers yet. But if you look at the number of vacancies in West Virginia, in 2015, we had about 600 classrooms that did not have fully certified teachers in place. That number rose to 1,200 in 2021. We know that part of that can be attributed to the pandemic, but not all of that. We know that there was a downshift in the labor workforce in education prior to the pandemic beginning. So looking at those numbers, Let's take a look at what we have in place for traditional education in West Virginia. We have 18 traditional preparation programs. These are colleges or universities in West Virginia that offer training for teachers in a traditional 4-year bachelor's degree program. 10 of those are public institutions, 8 of those are private institutions. If you look at the number of clinical permits we distributed last year in West Virginia, that number was 502. Of our 18 institutions, 9 of those institutions graduated less than 20 teachers last year. 6 of those institutions graduated 10 or less teachers, and 3 of these institutions graduated 0 teachers last year. So if you go back to this statistic that says we have 1,196 classrooms without fully certified teachers, and then you look at 502 graduates, you think about WVU, for example, so many of their students come from out of state and they return home to work. So you can see that we are at a deficit. So one of the most common solutions to addressing teacher shortages is to strengthen the pipeline. If you start looking at the demographics in West Virginia, we have almost 10,000 students identified as homeless in our state. These aren't students who are living on the street necessarily, but due to the opioid epidemic and other factors, we have students living with grandparents, living with cousins, doubling up in homes. You look at our numbers of students in foster care. We have almost 7,000 students identified in foster care. You think about the challenges that the opioid epidemic has caused for our students in West Virginia. You think about a student who's coming out of a teacher preparation program starting at an average salary of $38,000. We can compare that to David's daughter coming out making $50,000 or $60,000. So we started having conversations at the department because we know that higher education levels many times mean that that student's going to have a higher earning in their career. So we started having conversations. What can we do? Thinking about our demographics, thinking about Appalachian culture, thinking about our students, thinking about our first generation, low SES, rural students in West Virginia. How can we begin to mitigate the barriers that these students face? How can we remove barriers to level that playing field and to help those students be successful? So we feel a sense of urgency to eliminate barriers for our students. And some of these aren't all the barriers, but really the 2 main barriers are reducing the cost to become a teacher in West Virginia and reducing the amount of time it takes to get those students into a classroom to fill one of those positions as a certified teacher. Other things that we looked at were academic success. Hannah was talking about those students being successful in that college coursework. So if you're looking at dual credit, advanced placement, or high school curriculum, what do we need to do to make sure these students are successful in their academic endeavors? We were talking to an individual in Tennessee. You know, Tennessee had the first registered apprenticeship for the K-12 teaching occupation. And he said, you know, when you're looking at this coursework, you don't consider things like childcare, transportation, those wraparound services. So when we're reaching out to partners, we want financial partners, but we want partners that will help support us with those wraparound services as well. He said, for example, he had a paraprofessional who wanted to complete her teaching license. She was a single mom, had 3 children, and her car broke down. Well, that changed the whole game for how that individual could be successful moving forward. So making sure that those supports are in place. The amount of cost and time are very important to our West Virginia students, but also thinking outside the box, as Amber said. It's time to dream big, and we are dreaming big with our work that we're doing with the Grow Your Own Pathway, and really restoring the reputation and the prestige to the teaching profession. Everyone in this room can remember a teacher that made an impact on their lives. I'm in my 35th year as an educator. I spent 20 years in the classroom. Most of that as a first grade teacher. You might pick up on that a little bit. But I love education. I love being a teacher. I come from a family of business people. There are no teachers in my family. So when I think about the importance of what our teachers are doing, I feel that urgency to make a difference for our West Virginia students. So we are looking at multi-channel approaches to addressing this problem. And as Amber and I have talked multiple times, this is not an education problem. This is an economic development problem. And we need business and industry on board with us to address this problem because it's going to impact the economy of our state in the future. So my vision, and we're moving toward this vision, and I'm going to celebrate when we get there, but my vision is to create a world where students can pursue a career in teaching and get paid to do so. Grow Your Own Pathways across the country are making it possible for teachers to become educators for free while earning a wage. And this is going to empower us as a state to combat teacher shortages and remove barriers for students coming to us from all backgrounds. So I want to share with you, and Dr. Hunter passed this out for me, I want to share with you the student progression that we proposed, and this is where we started. This is the Grow Your Own West Virginia Pathway to Teaching. This was proposed to our 55 county superintendents this past January of 2022. And it shows the progression from high school to post-secondary with classroom experience and employment. And I'll make it bigger for those of you who are over 50 in the room like me. So we can look at this template. We gave it to our superintendents. We said, go back to your counties, have conversations with your partners in higher education, whether it be CTCs or 4 years. Talk to them about innovation, talk to them about flexibility, and see what they come up with in partnership with you. So if you go to our counties, you'll see that this is being implemented a little bit differently depending on the population, depending on the location geographically, depending on how close they are to a CTC or a 4-year. But the template, I'll just give you an overview of what this template looks like. This template allows students who are juniors and seniors in high school to complete 24 to 30 hours of dual credit coursework towards a bachelor's degree in education, cost-free prior to graduating from high school. This is a game changer for many of our students. So 4 of those courses are those core academic courses that students take as freshmen or sophomore in college. Your algebra, your biology, your English, your U.S. history. And we had our 16 partner institutions sign a statewide agreement. They came to an agreement that they will accept these credits, transferability guaranteed between institutions. So if I'm a student at Wheeling Park High School and I go through the Grow Your Own Pathway in Ohio County, but I decide I want to be a member of the Thundering Herd, Marshall signed an agreement that says we'll accept those 24 credits towards a bachelor's degree in education. 4 of the courses in this last column, a couple things to point out. These are educational foundation courses, so intro to education, child psychology, child development, social, emotional, mental well-being. These courses, number 1, are coded for Perkins 5 funding, so the counties can still pull down this hybrid CTE funding. But also, these are 4 initial courses that our institutions agreed they would accept as foundational education courses that any education major would take. So they're not content specific. So these 8 courses together are a 1-year prior to leaving the high school cost-free opportunity. So we're cutting 1 year off of the high school experience cost-free for the college experience for those students. In addition, this has 115 hours of field experience built in. So students go into the schools 15 hours in their junior year, 100 hours in their senior year. They spend time in the schools. We traveled last spring, the superintendent and the teacher of the year and I traveled and spoke to students who are interested in education all over the state. And it's funny, you don't think about a child's perspective, but one high school girl said, well, what if I start in 1 grade and I don't like it? What happens? And so we explained, you can change grades, you can change schools, you can change counties, you can change content area, but she wasn't aware that that was an option. So getting students out into the school, determining what type of kids they like to work with. You know, if you have a niche in middle school, That's where you belong. I taught first grade most of my teaching career. I'm certified to teach middle school, but I don't like middle school kids. Sorry. I didn't like my own child when she was in middle school. But you know, you'll find middle school teachers have that niche. So getting those kids out, giving them some experiences, giving them some opportunities to be in the field, and in a moment I'll share how that ties into the registered apprenticeship. These students complete 1 year prior to graduating from high school. They go out into the university for 2 years, complete their coursework. They come back in the Grow Your Own pathway in the 4th year, which would be their 3rd year out of high school, as the teacher of record. In West Virginia, we have a mandated undergraduate residency model. So by the fall of 2024, when we reach full implementation, there will be no student teaching, what we think of as traditional student teaching. They will be in a year-long residency. So they'll start the year, they'll go through Christmas, they'll get to do Halloween parties, they'll get to do state testing, they'll get to see how it looks from the beginning to the end with one teacher in one school with one group of students. So in this pathway, rather than them coming back and doing a residency experience with a cooperating teacher who's supervising them, they will be the teacher of record, earning a salary, benefits, and seniority in that 4th year. The difference will be not only are they going to be immersed in that classroom on the job training, they will have a cohort supervisor that the county has committed to hire a full-time employee to support those Grow Your Own residents in their 4th year. So we're cutting the time, we're cutting the amount that it costs, and I'm moving toward that goal of cost-free. So looking at our pilot right now, we just launched this fall, so we are fresh in the Grow Your Own pathway. We have 243 students in 31 counties in partnership with 16 institutions in 35 distinct high schools who are partnering. When I took this pathway to the superintendents in January, we were looking for a pilot of 8 to 10 counties because I wanted to start small, work out all the bugs. I had 31 superintendents say, count me in. Our superintendent said to the legislature on Sunday, I want the other 24 on board next year. So if you all need a job, I'm looking for some help. So come on and join me. So we're looking at our data that we've gathered for this fall. And what's great is if you look, the average GPA of these students is 3.582. That is excellent. That tells me that we're getting some of our best and brightest students interested in entering the teaching field. We have so far, and this is a great statistic, for the fall 2022 semester, we are supporting 384 college credit hours for a savings to West Virginia parents and students of $45,000, and this is our first semester. So that is a statistic that we're very excited about. So how does that merge with the registered apprenticeship? So just to give you a quick background, many of you know, but in 2021, November, it's been almost a year, Tennessee, David Donaldson, who worked in Tennessee, who's now the managing partner of the National Center for Grow Your Own, he worked through 3 administrations. He worked in Tennessee at the Tennessee Department of Education, and he was finally successful having standards for the K-12 teaching occupation approved as a registered apprenticeship last November. So Tennessee became the first state to be registered as a registered apprenticeship for the K-12 teaching occupation. I am so proud to tell you that West Virginia followed as the number 2 state, right, Karen? Number 2? Number 2 state in May of 2022. And we are so proud of that because it took the partnerships that we have with workforce and with labor to accomplish that goal. And so that was a really happy day. So what we know that does is that opens up opportunities for us to access funding and support for high school students in West Virginia. And that required those partnerships. So we have established partnerships with philanthropy, our workforce partnerships. We are one of the founding members of the National Center for Grow Your Own Apprenticeship Network that is nationwide. They are adding partners. We were the first state that had the opportunity to present nationwide on our apprenticeship. We have other states who are connecting with us, asking what this model looks like and how they can follow suit. So we're getting some wonderful positive press on a national level about West Virginia, and as a native West Virginian, that means so much to me to hear positive comments made about our state. So it's going to require innovation. It's requiring us to think outside the box. It's requiring us to do things differently than they've been done before. But I'm a believer that these are not stumbling blocks. These are opportunities for us to figure it out. I don't say it can't be done. I say, how can we figure out how to do it? And that's what we've been doing. So, of course, as I mentioned, our partnerships, some people have said, how did you get started? Other states are asking us how I got started. And I've said every time I got connected, Clinton Birch, who's over our CTE at the Department of Ed, he got me connected with David Rogers and with Amber and with Karen. And we just went and had a meeting. We sat down and said, we have expertise in education, but we don't have expertise in apprenticeship or in the industry and workforce. How can we partner to meet the needs of our students in West Virginia? There's a national statistic that says that 62% of students who go through a traditional teacher preparation program teach their first year within 20 miles of where they went to high school. And when I go to any time and present to teachers, I ask that question, and it's a pretty accurate statistic. I actually taught my first year in the high school I graduated from and didn't stay there, but that's exactly what happened with me. You go to the university, and West Virginia kids want to stay home many times. So I want to share with you, this is the other handout, and of course this is too small to read on the screen, but share with you what our West Virginia apprenticeship model looks like. So I will share with you, of those 31 counties, we have 7 counties who have committed to piloting the apprenticeship model starting in the spring. So we have 67 students who will be registered as apprenticeships. We are preparing to do that right now to start inputting those students into Rapids. And so the apprenticeship in West Virginia allows these students who are in the Grow Your Own pathway, if they're a registered apprentice, they will earn a $9 an hour salary for those 15 hours of field experience in their junior year. Very light lift, very slow start. Karen knows that we may want to change this and adjust it as we gain strength and get more comfortable with what we're working with. These students will be able to complete that field experience in their junior year. Then they will move on, completing their dual credit, cost-free. They will do 100 hours. That incremental wage will move to $9.50 in the senior year of high school. And they will also graduate from high school with a National Department of Labor credential as a youth apprentice. So they'll be identified as youth apprentices in their high school experience. When they go to the college level, sophomore and junior year traditionally of high school, they will enter as a College of Education student when they depart high school, and that wage will move to $11 an hour. Throughout their field experiences. In West Virginia policy, they have to complete 125 hours of field experience prior to that clinical year, which was previously student teaching. So they will have 125 hours out in the schools. And then in their senior year, they're going to be that teacher of record in their clinical residency year, and they will be making a salary. In state code, we have what's called a CTR, Clinical Teacher of Record, and that Clinical Teacher of Record is a student who has completed all of their licensure testing, they've completed all of their coursework that they need to be a teacher, they just haven't done their clinical, and they get paid no less than 65% of the state aid formula. So this will be a very similar structure for these students in their 4th year. They'll have supervision both from the university and from the county, as a FTE will be hired to support those students, and they'll graduate as a teacher with another national credential, USDOL credential of teacher, and they will be certified upon graduation. If there is not an opportunity, say if a student is a physics student coming out, there may not be a placement for that student. So if that's the case, they'll continue with that $11 an hour wage as they are going through their residency year with a cooperating teacher. So this is our model that we are launching in the spring with 67 students. Our counties are very excited. We're hoping to do some signing ceremonies. We're hoping to have some publicity and media around this when we get ready to actually launch that with our students. And in closing, I want to share with you a quote, and I believe this quote, that we know that a well-prepared, well-supported, and well-compensated diverse educator workforce is the foundation for student success. And I would add that it's not only the foundation for student success, it's the foundation for economic success for our state. And I want to share with you a video in closing, and I want to set it up just a moment. We had the national news show Matter of Fact by Soledad O'Brien, who came into West Virginia a couple months ago, and they wanted to go to McDowell County because they had been to McDowell County when the Renaissance Village was being built. So they were coming back 5 years later to have a conversation with McDowell County officials and teachers and students. And so they called us and said, we're hearing about this Grow Your Own Pathway Registered Apprenticeship. Can we come and talk to you? And they did a beautiful story, and I've shared it several times because I think it embodies what we're trying to do in West Virginia. And again, as a native West Virginia, this story warms my heart. So I want to share this short video with you.
I'm Soledad O'Brien. Welcome to Matter of Fact. Teachers are in demand as school districts across the country try to desperately fill vacancies. According to a Brown University study, schools need more than 36,000 teachers, and they're using more than 163,000 instructors who don't have appropriate certification. We've been reporting on the reasons for the shortages: the pandemic, burnout, a dramatic drop in graduates with education degrees, and that leaves districts looking for creative ways to attract teachers. In Alabama, some schools are offering bonus pay up to $10,000 for math and special education teachers. Tennessee is allowing districts to hire non-certified teachers, and retired teachers can return without losing their retirement benefits. San Francisco is helping teachers with mortgage down payments up to $40,000. For McDowell County in the Appalachian Mountain region of West Virginia, teacher vacancies are nothing new. Our correspondent, Jessica Gomez, traveled to McDowell County to see what's being done to try to get teachers into the classrooms.
The Kennedy family out the door before the sun comes up.
It's dark when we leave and it's dark when we get home.
They live in Wyoming County, West Virginia, but spend about 2 hours in the car to and from work in neighboring McDowell County.
We love kids. That's why we do what we do.
And there she is.
The Kennedys among about 1/3 of the teachers and administrators at the McDowell County School District who commute from other counties. Terry, a special education teacher, and Tim, an assistant principal.
We're going to the first period right now.
And they're desperately needed. Substitutes now covering the nearly 36 vacant teaching positions this year. Associate Superintendent Ingrida Barker.
We have principals subbing, we have central office sometimes coming in to help out just because we need that coverage.
This class learning math virtually, sharing a teacher with another high school. And in the gym, students supposed to be in English class. But there are no English teachers this year, and both long-term subs out for the day.
Every single day and night you think, how can you make it better for them?
Making things better for the remote county nestled in the Appalachian Mountains. Those here weary of the stories told so often about McDowell County, about the loss of coal mining jobs and poverty, the families ravaged by the opioid epidemic, the lack of housing and things to do.
What's the next word?
Recruiting and retaining teachers here has always been tough. And then the pandemic.
It's a salary problem, it's a workforce development problem.
In Charleston at the West Virginia Department of Education, Dr. Carla Warren.
There must be a shift because if we do not address the talent pool, if we do not address the teacher pipeline, we're going to see permanent damage to our economy.
You can't make a change if you can't start from within.
So the state turning to high school students like Lakin Siebold, the daughter of a coal miner.
And by the end of this module, we will definitely have a better idea.
She's part of a pilot program in McDowell and 30 other districts in West Virginia, connecting high schools with state universities to fast-track students toward degrees in education.
They can complete 1 year of their college education towards a bachelor's degree in education at no cost to that student while they're still in high school.
The hope, students will come back to their home districts their senior year in college, get paid as resident teachers, and stay on.
The point is to have students who know and love the area, who are from here, and have a stake in the future of our area to come back and educate our children.
This is a big boost to downtown West.
And glimmers of hope, new housing will attract those teachers. The American Federation of Teachers behind the decade-long $9 million effort to demolish an old building here and in its place, build an apartment complex for teachers.
In order to attract and retain young people to move into the county, there had to be some housing.
But like much else here, it's been a struggle. So far, only a handful of renters are teachers.
8, 9, 10.
The Kennedys will soon be among them.
I love my students. I think that they would love to see us around.
The first thing we have to do is build those relationships, and we have to be visible for that to happen.
That would kind of work for foundation too.
Lake and Siebold inspired to do the same.
You can't say, oh, it's so bad, and then just move away and forget about it forever. I want to go into the schools and I want to make an impact on some students' life.
An impact that might finally change the story of McDowell County. In West Virginia, for matter of fact, I'm Jessica Gomez.
West Virginia is the second state to start a teacher apprenticeship program through the Department of Labor. It allows districts to pay high school and college students working toward their education degrees for their field experience in the classroom.
So that video is beautiful, and it shows a great example of what we're trying to do in West Virginia. So I agree with Dr. Barker. I spend all my days and nights thinking about how can we make it better for our students. And this is something that can be a game changer for West Virginia students. And I just want to say one more time, Amber, you've been wonderful. David, thank you so much. Karen, this partnership is the most exciting thing I've ever done in my education career, and I thank you, and we look forward to driving this forward. So thanks for the opportunity to share with you.
Thank you, Carla. How inspiring. I mean, just the overall approach and how this has been designed and the opportunity that it's created, especially in McDowell, West Virginia, where it was ravagely damaged by the coal downturn, as well as the opioid epidemic, as we've seen in the vast majority of our state, but generally really hard in southern West Virginia, and creating these opportunities for those students who want to stay in our state, who want to stay in their hometowns or counties and make a difference. That's innovative. That's something that's really laid the foundation for additional opportunities to be created. So thank you, Carla. Moving forward on our agenda, the next presenter that we have, and is this in video, I'm assuming, or we have someone in person? Oh, there he is. Okay, sorry. Safe Driver Apprenticeship Pilot Program. We have James Davison with the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, and Donald Eastep with the West Virginia Department of Transportation, who is a Transportation Worker Apprenticeship Program Coordinator. Thank you.
Yes.
While he's getting that set up, I want to thank Amber and Karen both for the partnership we've developed over the time that I've been here working on this project. It's been instrumental. They've been wonderful partners with this. And Dr. Warren, thank you for your presentation. I've got a lot to live up to with your expectations. So thank you so much. I've listened to the presentations here and looked at the accomplishments that have been made with the apprenticeship programs. One of the things I want to talk to y'all about is a new initiative that FMCSA has pushed out. Before this initiative was pushed out, you had to be 21 years old to drive a CDL vehicle. This initiative is changing things in dramatic ways out here, and we're hoping to get the success stories from this program that I've heard in this room today. So under the bipartisan infrastructure bill, FMCSA was challenged to establish a program for the student driver apprenticeship pilot program. It allows drivers 18 to 20 years old to operate commercial motor vehicles, interstate and intrastate. Currently, under the federal laws, before this happened, you could operate a vehicle within state boundaries under certain conditions if you were under 21, but you couldn't cross the state line. Well, they looked at this, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you're living 5 miles away from a border to say I can't drive 10 miles across the state line, but I can drive 300 miles within the state. So this pilot program is going to require drivers 18 to 20 years old to operate under specific conditions, but it will allow them to cross state lines. Currently, 48 states and the District of Columbia allow 18 to 20-year-olds to drive intrastate or within the state borders. So this program will expand that. Under the Biden-Harris administration, their Trucking Action Plan and Driving Good Jobs is an initiative between U.S. Department of Transportation and U.S. Department of Labor. It supports drivers by ensuring trucking jobs are good jobs. It establishes a foundation for strong, safe, and stable trucking workforce. We've all experienced the shortfalls and the lack of goods through the COVID pandemic. There is a need out there, and there is a shortage of drivers. A lot of the older drivers are retiring out of the workforce now, and it's leaving a vast hole that we need to fill. It identifies effective and safe strategies to get drivers into the trucking industry from underrepresented communities, including women and drivers between the ages of 18 and 20 years old. We have been working with an initiative with women in trucking as well to bring women into the industry in addition to this. On January 14th, 2022, FMCSA announced a federal rule notice of the establishment of the Safe Driver Apprenticeship Program, or SDAP program. It's a 3-year program that allows 18, 19, and 20-year-olds to explore interstate trucking careers. That 3-year program, it will roll people in and out as they go through the program. It requires trucking companies to hire and train drivers through a licensed apprenticeship pilot program. It requires trucking companies and the apprentices to meet additional qualification standards. So FMCSA will look at the companies that are applying to be in this program. If they meet those standards, they'll then apply through the Department of Labor to get an apprenticeship number, and then they can hire these drivers. The motor carriers must register their apprenticeship program with the Department of Labor. Until FMCSA gets all those steps done, those companies can't hire those drivers. It is limited to 3,000 apprentices at any time. As they roll in and the drivers turn 21, those numbers is a rolling number. There's approximately 1,000 motor carriers that are allowed to be in the pilot program as well, and that allows us a good pool to monitor the program and how successful it's been. We've got our information on our webpage that goes into a lot more detail for companies that are willing to participate in the program. For those drivers that want to participate, they must hold a current intrastate CDL and must be 18 to 20 years old. So what they'll do is they'll get training. They'll get a CDL license. It will be restricted to drive intrastate or within the borders of the state. Once they apply for FMCSA, there's a process that they'll go through with the carrier. They'll apply with the carrier, then the carrier will submit that driver's information to FMCSA. We'll evaluate that driver as well. We'll look at their driving records and make sure that they meet certain requirements. Once they meet those requirements and they're approved, they will then complete a 400-hour additional training in addition to their initial training to get the CDL license, which is broken down into 2 periods of 120 hours and 280 hours with a total of 400 hours additional training time. During that time, they must be accompanied by an experienced driver that's at least 26 years old. He's got to have 5 years of experience driving those commercial vehicles, and the previous 2 years without any crashes or pointed tickets. There are restrictions on what type of vehicles that they can operate. It has to be an automatic transmission in the vehicle. It has to be equipped with automatic braking, collision mitigation systems. And it has to have a forward and rear-facing in-cab camera with a governed speed of no more than 65 miles an hour with adaptive cruise control. FMCSA started accepting applications for the program on July 26, 2022. There have been a number of carriers throughout the nation that have applied and already participating in the program. Our website's there if a carrier is going to apply, wants to apply. There's our web page there that they can direct link to it. They can also work with Karen Wade with Department of Labor. We're working very closely back and forth with this program. We also screen the motor carriers so that they meet certain qualification standards. They have to have an adequate safety rating in order to participate in the program. The pilot program will last a maximum of 3 years. Hopefully within that 3-year period, we'll have enough data to decide whether we're going to continue the program or it's kind of go fall by the wayside. Right now, the program is doing very well from the data that I have seen. The applicants in the company are going to be required to submit monthly data on the apprentice's driver activity, safety outcomes, and additional supporting information until they reach the age of 21 years old. The motor carriers are not required to register with the Department of Labor initially. They can start the process with looking at different drivers, but if they're going to hire the driver, they must go through the apprenticeship program in order to continue on with the process. Once they're registered with the Department of Labor, they'll be issued a number, and that number will be returned to FMCSA, and we will work back and forth between the two entities to monitor the program. We've got our web page there, or if you know any motor carriers that want to get involved with the program, they can email us direct at that specific email address. One of the things that we have looked at with this program is we're trying to find providers that are willing to hire the drivers. We're looking for educational facilities that are willing to bring the student drivers in. There is a need for jobs, a tremendous need for jobs in the industry. So if there's anybody that has any kind of ideas or offer any kind of support with this, please reach out to us and let us know. We're eager to get it up and rolling. We think it's going to be a great benefit. And one of the challenges that we've seen in the past is when somebody gets out of school, they can't. Traditionally in the past, it's been 21 to 23-year-olds before they could enter into the industry. Well, how many high school graduates can wait till they're 21 or 23 years old to get into the industry? So it limits the pool dramatically the way the current systems are set up. They go out and get into a field, it's hard to make a career change at 23 or 25 years old. So the other thing with the additional training that they're required to get is it allows them to be better trained to enter the industry. They're in the apprenticeship program, so it's very valuable to the company to support the wages while they're in the apprenticeship program, and it truly sets them up for success at 18 years old. Does anybody have any questions? The next speaker is going to come up here and present, and he's going to talk about the apprenticeship program with the Department of Highways as well. But they've had great success for that, and we want to see this be one of the success stories that we can come back in the future and show the statistics on how well it's done.
Jim, has anybody signed up yet in West Virginia?
There have been some students or apprentices that have signed up in West Virginia, but we do not have any companies that have been approved as of yet. We've got several that are in discussions with, so any ideas or any companies you can point in our direction would be great. We're trying to get outreach out to the companies to make them aware of it.
Are there any, like nationally, are there any specific
Well, there are some restrictions on the type of carriers that these students can operate within. They cannot haul passengers, they cannot haul tankers or hazardous materials. But we're looking for a diverse group of motor carriers out there. So we don't want just huge carriers. We want to get smaller carriers involved in this as well, so we can get very good statistical data with this program. So it's open to all the carriers out there as long as they're not operating in those areas that are restricted. Any other questions? Thank y'all so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Don Estep, and I work for the West Virginia Division of Highways, and I'm actually the coordinator over the West Virginia Transportation Worker Apprenticeship Program. Prior to 2015, as prior to me coming to Highways, my predecessors was seeing a problem as far as retaining individuals. We kept having to hire, rehire, and rehire. So in 2015, my predecessors went to the experts, United States Department of Labor. We explained our situation, and their response was, we have the perfect tool for you. And they introduced us to the apprenticeship program. So in 2015, the Department of Highways instituted the TW apprenticeship program. Every transportation worker that is hired on day one, they are automatically enrolled into our apprenticeship program. When they go through orientation, they're given a copy of our apprenticeship policy, and inside that policy, it contains the information on the various subclassifications that we have in our apprenticeship program, and that's equipment operators, mechanics, traffic control, so on and so forth. Inside that policy, not only does it list what that individual needs to accomplish in their current position, it also lists every other job classification we have with Highways. That way, 2 or 3 years down the road, they kind of get tired of what they're doing. They have that policy. They can look, hey, you know, I've been out being an equipment operator for the past 4 years. I kind of would like to go back and become a mechanic. That way I'm not out, I'm in an enclosed environment. So it opens up a lot of opportunities for our employees. The way our tiers, our apprenticeship program works, we have built-in tiers to where once the apprentice is hired, after they have accumulated so many hours of on-the-job training, they are afforded the ability to have a review done. The supervisor will go and do a proficiency rating on all of their job duties that they perform and the equipment that they can operate. As long as the proficiency rating meets the minimum standards for advancement, they're advanced to the next tier, and that process starts over again until they meet the number of hours in order for their next review. Currently, we have over 3,500 employees that's in our transportation program with Highways. And since 2015, we've actually had over 1,600 individuals who have completed the apprenticeship program with us with Highways and have become an official journey person. The apprenticeship program has been very beneficial in helping us with our retention numbers. However, unfortunately, due to the COVID, and I'm sure every other agency or company in here can testify, we've all taken a hit as far as retention with what transpired during the 2 years that Highways had with dealing with COVID. We are starting to see the trend heading back into the right direction. One of the major items that we have with our program is training. With the apprenticeship program, training is the key component of our apprenticeship program. We have monthly safety meetings that our employees attend. There's not a job duty or a piece of equipment that we'll ask an individual to operate or do unless they have been fully trained. With this apprenticeship program, now with putting more emphasis on training and training being a part of their ability to advance, it has actually gotten our employees to get on board. You know, before it was like, oh, I got to do this training, oh, I got to do that training. We're not seeing that anymore. Some, but for the most part, they're now willing participants to go to that training to become a better and greater employee, not only for themselves, but for our company and organization as well. We go out and we have hiring events that we go, trying to get recruits to come in. One of our biggest selling points when we go to these hiring events or have these hiring events is talking about our apprenticeship program and what it has to offer. You know, one of the key things that I see from the applicants that take an interest in choosing highways to be their career is the ability to have them built into your advancements. You know, so that plays a great part. When I first started with highways, I come to this position from Division of Motor Vehicles. I was tasked to go out and train our supervisors who oversee doing the reviews for our employees. We hit the COVID, that kind of shut down everything. We finally got the green light this year to go back out. And one of the key emphasis that I've stressed in the training to our supervisors is the review process, okay? We inform them that when they sit down and they're doing the review on their employee is they need to rate them on their current ability, okay? In the past, you know, we struggled with the good old boy syndrome, that if you had an employee that didn't cause the supervisor any problems, well, you get an advancement, don't have to worry about it. Well, with this apprenticeship program, we're holding those supervisors more accountable to their ratings. And one of the things that I pointed out to them, you know, most of our crew chiefs, they have 3 or 4 crews that they're responsible for. And at a recent meeting, I asked them, I said, okay, all of you have 3 or 4 crews to work with, right? I bet all of you have one of those 3 or 4 crews that no matter what you assign to them, you don't have to worry. They're going to get the job done. They're your top crew. I said, wouldn't it be nice to have each and every one of your crews to have that ability? And I emphasize that going back to the point as far as proficiency ratings. If you give them a rating just so they can advance, you're only hurting yourself and you're not helping an employee. I tell them, if you have to give someone a low rating, that's the perfect time while you're sitting down with the employee to give them the information that they need to do in order to be able to improve themselves, in order to be able to get that raise. I said, because if you keep on the path of just passing people on, you know, just on their ability to get an advancement and not on their actual ability, you're going to end up at the end with people that are listed as mastery employees that can't do the job. And then you come back and complain to us, you can't get your job done because your employees are not trained, when you're the key one that was responsible for creating that situation. So it is an ongoing process. I, like others, thank you very much, Ms. Wade, for everything that you all do and the guidance that you provide for us. We have found that the apprenticeship program has been very beneficial for highways, and we look forward to continuing our partnership with the U.S. Department of Labor and the growth in our program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just to mention again, a partnership, highlight a partnership with the Registered Apprenticeship opportunities. The Workforce West Virginia has what we call other discretionary grants. They're referred to as National Dislocated Worker Grants. Most of those initiatives are focused on a specific population, or we have the opportunity to apply for a disaster grant if there were flooding or significant weather-related issues within our state. So due to the flooding that occurred back in January and February of 2021, we were able to apply for a National Dislocated Worker Grant. I think there's a total of 7 or 8 counties that are involved in those declarations. Southern West Virginia being a part of it, Mason and Kanawha County as well, that we were awarded grant funding for. And in the structuring of that program, we worked with the Department of Highways, with Julian Woods and some of his administration and the managers of the crews that go out and do the repair activities. And what we were able to structure is a coordinated program that, with the National Dislocated Work funding, to employ individuals in temporary work relief through that funding, focused on cleaning up providing storm relief as far as cleaning up areas that were affected with debris or other situations with the Division of Highways, and allowing that period to be an observation period for the managers or crew leaders or whoever was observing those individuals working, cleaning up those areas, and creating the opportunity for DOH to recruit from that pool of individuals that we were employing through the temporary work relief with the National Dislocated Worker Grant funding. I think at this point, and Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that we have transitioned 5 individuals from that temporary work relief into positions with the Division of Highways. So, and most generally, the population that we focus on in placing the individuals in those temporary work relief programs are individuals with barriers to employment, such as transportation, low work history, no education, high school dropouts. Really the hardest to serve is the focus of those grants. So making that connection and creating the opportunities with Division of Highways has been instrumental in creating an opportunity for those, not just giving them the temporary work relief for a year to provide income or support for themselves or their families, but actually give them a career pathway where they can enter the registered apprenticeship models and be successful and stay in West Virginia. So it's been effective too. There's lots of different things going on at the state agencies actually working together effectively to develop programs and plans for economic development to address our workforce participation. We'll continue to do that, and as an open-ended invitation to employer and industry that it's participating here in person or virtually. Karen Wade is a phenomenal human being when it comes to, I don't know when she takes the time to sleep or eat, because I feel confident she's on the phone. I hear everybody talking, I talk to Karen. I'm on the phone with Karen all the time too, so I'm not sure where your opportunities come into play, but she is such a passionate person when it comes to registered apprenticeship. She's a product of Registered Apprenticeship. She is very knowledgeable and makes the connections and really drives this home and is willing to go the extra mile to make those connections work, to create programs, and to continue to be innovative as we look at West Virginia as a whole and creating opportunities. So I appreciate all the work that you do, Karen, and well, give us a couple more years. Let us get all this stuff going. But Karen she's just been phenomenal and continues to be. Sometimes she should probably not be on the phone, but you can't tell Karen anything, just in case you're not aware of that. So again, much appreciation, as well as your team, Adam and Mike, that are focused in other areas of the state. I've always had a successful working relationship with both of those individuals, and your leader, Ken Milnes. So again, the Office of Apprenticeship is the foundation for what we're able to build upon and bringing the partners to the table and structuring these programs. So again, thank you. With that being said, I think that's the end of our presentation today. I again appreciate everyone's time today, and I hope you've taken away some information and have maybe potentially been looking at opportunities as we've been discussing. Karen is a contact, myself, Dave Rogers, and Dave Lavender, the team with West Virginia Economic Development. We will all be willing to speak and look at opportunities and bring the right players to the table. So thank you all. Have a safe, if you're traveling, travel safe, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone.